won't even tell me what they're doing to the graphic. If you're a new viewer to the show, hi, Rush Limbaugh, the TV show. This what day was it, 118? 113. Time's going by a little too slow. I was wishful thinking. Day 113 of the raw deal, the Clinton presidency, and we have been using a graphic that shows a picture of the White House as though a 60s commune had taken it over. Peace sign all over drawn on the outside of it. And it's under construction. The graphic's being changed. They won't even tell me what it is, so that's people peeking over the wall to see. A lot to do tonight, so let's just get started. You saw the president take the White House lawn the other night with 18 Marines securing the White House for next year's Easter egg roll. Here is what the contingent looked like. The president decided he didn't need all of this to secure the White House, and so just took 18 of them. Actually, we're going to talk tonight about Bosnia and troops. There seems to be some confusion, and try to set it straight if we can. Calvin Butts, he's the pastor of the Abyssinian Baptist Church here in New York, in Harlem, and has, I think, courageously and bravely stood up against some of the filth that's in rap music. We'll show you what he said, and we'll play it. You really should applaud him. He really, he's a guy, I tell you, Calvin Butts is a guy who has been whitewashing cigarette and beer and malt liquor ads in the neighborhood, the billboard ads that they put up. He's thought that the influences on kids in the neighborhood have been bad. So we'll show you what he has said about this and make some comments. We want to try to tie up some loose ends about Leonard Jeffries. As you know, he was vindicated. He wasn't vindicated, but the college where he teaches, where he was head of the Black Studies department, just summarily got rid of him, and a court ruled that he had his free speech rights had been violated the way they had done it. And we had a little time to talk about it last night, not a whole lot, and I want to revisit this tonight, try to tie up some loose ends. And our fourth monitor, if we get to it, it too is fun. Now, something appeared about me today in the style section of the Washington Post. Would you put that up, Chet? Show the audience. Style section is the society page. It's the celebrity page, is what's going on. If you can't read that, here's what it says. It's a quote of me, an endless parade of human debris. And then it says, Rush Limbaugh speaking of his fellow baby boomers at a recent National Rifle Association banquet. I looked at that today and I said, I use the phrase, and I'm sure those of you who are regular viewers and listeners know that I love to use the phrase, an endless parade of human debris, but I've never ever said it about a whole generation of people simply because of the years they were born or how old they are. But I also don't write my speeches. I am so good at it, I simply speak them. I just ad-lib. So I couldn't call the Washington Post, say you got it wrong. I had to conduct an investigation, and we just concluded the investigation. And I have here a transcript of what I actually said within the context of a 45-minute speech. Here's what I said. I'm talking about people of America. They watch daytime TV. Daytime TV is the museum of our modern American decay. Castrated men who still fear the bicycle bar, gay nuns on dope. And this stuff is put forth. People think, hey, this is normal. You better like this. This is your country. And if you don't like this and if you don't love this, you're a bigot. I see this as an endless parade of human debris. I'm obviously talking about the guests on these shows, which I will say to you today are an endless parade of human debris. I was not talking about baby boomers. I was not at all talking about baby boomers. Now, this is the second time I've seen this. I don't know where the first, it was yesterday, Monday. I don't know, I think Monday is when it actually was, and I don't remember where I first saw it, but the Post picked it up and didn't check it out. And the reason that I am nitpicking this is that this is the kind of stuff that if it is allowed to stand and stay out there, then all the rest of the press has access to it, and it becomes something that is truthful when it really isn't. They just assume that that's what I think of the baby boom generation of which I'm a part. So I'm not going to let this mischaracterization or characterization go and just stand. And so I have this show, have the radio show, have my newsletter to fix it, and I've also gotten hold of the Washington Post to try to get a retraction. So I know only the people of Washington saw this, but if I didn't stop this, everybody in the country would see it the next time somebody wanted to write a hit piece about me. So You got to stand up for yourselves, folks. You can't let them intimidate you and say, oh, well, it's the Washington Post, I can't do anything about it. Now we have a man on the street thing that I want to show you. We went out with our cameras, Nick Africano, and we decided to ask people, because I look at Clinton's approval ratings and I see them plummeting. And we watch the news and we see the dominant media culture presenting average Americans commenting on the president. And what do we hear? Oh, he's trying real hard. Or, we've got to give him a chance. Everybody wants our president to do well. Let me tell you something. I don't want this president to do well if that means, if that means getting what he wants economically, that program's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt the middle class. It's going to hurt the people who make this country work, and I don't want that to constitute success for this president. I would just as soon he fail. If that's what it's about. So we decided to send our camera crew out and just at random select people. We didn't tell them what show we were from. We have not skewed this in any way. We're just going to play you what we got. Man on the street, what do you think of Clinton's economic plan and his ideas so far?
Since President Clinton took office in January, tell me, do you feel more or less optimistic about the future of the economy, and why?
I feel a little less optimistic. I was feeling very optimistic when he took office, and would have hoped that some of his programs went through. I would have hoped that he would have focused a little more on deficit reduction.
Right now, I feel I'm less optimistic.
Definitely more. I think it may just be an emotional response, but I do find that he's an energetic man, and his goodwill, and he has the goodwill of many people who will count in the state and in the world, and I think he'll be able to do great things with it.
So far I feel about the same. I haven't seen him move very quickly on a lot of economic issues, but I think he'll move forward when time comes and he gets Congress in motion.
Plus, I really don't think he knows what he's doing.
My feelings about the future of the economy really have little to do with what he's done or hasn't done since he's taken office. I think it's going to get better.
Less optimistic, just because he never carried through on his campaign promises, and he never carried through on anything he said. And I think the nation is where it was at, when he was elected.
He's likable. He's a nice-looking man. The women like him. Hollywood likes him. He's trying, but I don't think he's cutting it yet.
I don't know if it's optimistic or scared. Because so far, he hasn't done anything that's been solid. And he's been flipping back and forth on just about every one of his policies. So that you always have to scratch your temple as far as the future goes with him.
Yeah, you do. Now, let me ask you this. What other television show would show you that? Most people, you're going to say, oh, he's trying hard. We very much enjoy what he's doing, so forth. We just went out and randomly asked people. And there you have the alternative view. We call it The Truth here on Rush Limbaugh, the TV show. The rest of our show right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Hey, Chet, can you put that picture from the Washington Post back up? Do I not just look like a harmless, lovable little fuzzball in that picture? That's the same picture that's on the copy of the cover of the book. All right, the president was in Illinois yesterday. As you know, when he runs into trouble governing, which is most every day, he flees Washington and hits the campaign trail. He goes back to where the sign of his success. He knows he can't fool Congress. He knows he can't fool the press, but he thinks he can fool you. And the younger you are, the better. So there he was at a high school auditorium being grilled by some high school students, and he actually got a tough question. He did. The press wouldn't ask this question. I mean, I've been waiting for this question to be asked by the dominant. This is a question that should have been asked during the debate, but it wasn't, because during the debates, they didn't dare ask about foreign policy. That might have made President Bush look good. Can't have that. So they didn't ask about foreign policy. Now, students stood up, and before I play this, let me ask you a question. I want to take a survey here. How many of you, a show of hands will do, how many of you, after listening to all of the discussions that have gone on about what we should do in Bosnia, think that we are considering, as one of many options, the deployment of ground troops? How many think that that's being discussed? Exactly. That's what I thought. How many of you think that the president has himself discussed this, perhaps suggested it? Okay. I'm with you. I think that's a clear majority as I count, and I can count because I didn't go to college. An inside joke. Now, the president was asked this question. In fact, as I look at the clock, let me take a break here because I want to do what we're going to do in a full segment with the president rather than having to get in the middle of it, interrupted with a commercial break. So when we come back, a student asks him, how can you send troops to Bosnia when you wouldn't go to Vietnam? They asked him. We'll have the answer when we get back. Don't go away. Let's get straight into this. So the student stands and asks the president, how can you send troops to Bosnia if you wouldn't even go to Vietnam? Here's the president's answer. Listen very carefully.
I've never advocated sending troops, the United States unilaterally sending troops to Bosnia to fight on one side or the other of the Civil War.
Now, when I saw that, I read that in the paper this morning. When I saw it, I said, oh, why be disingenuous about this? I've never advocated sending troops unilaterally to fight on one side or the other in a civil war. He has talked about airstrikes, has he not? Yeah. I mean, we're going to, during the campaign, we're going to go over there and we were going to drop bombs. So what are we going to do? Bomb both sides now? Get Judy Collins out. We're going to bomb both sides now. We've even had food drops that have hit people on the head. We've caused injuries. And if we're going to drop bombs on both sides, I don't mean to make light of this, but this is so disingenuous. I have never, it's like, go talk to Janet Reno, or go talk to the chief of staff of the Joint Chiefs, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, or go talk to anybody but me. I've never done that. No, this is what I mean. He shuns the leadership role that this job requires him to have and possess. Now, he may never have, I want to be clear about this, he may never have advocated sending ground troops in, but I did this question, I asked the audience, you saw the hands, and I'm sure many of you think that has been discussed by United States officials. We are one country, hopefully. I mean, we do decide to do things, and the debate happens and so forth. I've never advocated this. Look, don't blame me for that. But if we're going to bomb both sides, with this administration, looking at the way they're packing their cabinet, we've got to have quota bombs. You can't bomb one side more than the other. We got to measure the tonnage. We got to be fair about this. There were other questions he was asked. The reasons that we care about Bosnia. Here's his answer to that. Take a look.
I think that without the United States unilaterally getting in, or without even I don't think the United Nations should enter the war on one side or the other.
Wait a minute, I'm off by one. I'm off by one. I just commented on that one before you saw it. That shows you how clairvoyant I am. Anyway, you've already heard it, and time is growing short. Let me go to the one that I just introduced. Are we ready to roll that one now? Yeah. Go ahead and roll this one. Here's why we're going and what's important.
I think there is much more that we can do to induce the parties to stop the fighting, to do what we can to stop this idea of ethnic cleansing, murdering people, raping children, and doing terrible acts of violence solely because of people's religion.
Now, you know what we're doing here, folks, at this show? I asked the production staff today to get me pictures of every war currently being fought on this planet. I have this theory. I don't think that human beings, the way we're made, emotionally. I don't think that we can deal with the full scope of human misery that's going on this planet. As we tape this show, somebody's being raped and murdered and tortured. A lot of people are all over the country. People are being killed as we tape this show, just as they're being killed in Bosnia. Now the question is, why don't we go everywhere where people are being killed? Why just Bosnia? Well, the answer is ethnic cleansing. Somehow that killing is worse than any other. And I think this is just a bunch of liberals who are trying to assuage their guilt. There's no strategy that I have heard. There's no definition of victory. There's no objective. Nobody can define what we're going to do. All we hear is a bunch of people, we got to do something and people are dying. Now, don't laugh. I mean, it's a morality play. You listen to what Schwarzkopf said yesterday. We played it on this show. The purpose of the Army, you kill people and break things. I mean, that's the sole creed. It's not to make liberals in America feel better. It's not to assuage people's guilt. All these airstrikes and all of these little surface things that people are talking about doing, all they're going to do is make the people that you see on TV demanding that we do something feel better. It will accomplish absolutely nothing. One more clip. The president is talking about another reason why we must take this action in Bosnia. Listen, this is interesting too. Watch this.
We want to try to confine that conflict so it doesn't spread into other places and involve other countries like Albania and Greece and Turkey.
The domino effect, I think I hear him saying. The domino. Here's a guy. The domino effect. People were afraid about that in Southeast Asia. Nah, domino effect. That ain't going to happen. Communism's not trying to spread itself around the country. Now, though, since they're in charge, we're worried about the domino effect. Other nations may fall. This truly is a civil war, and the Serbs, the aggressors here, are not interested in taking France. They're not interested in taking Germany. I really don't think this is a civil war, and they want their own country. I don't want to be misunderstood about this. I'm not suggesting that we should take the killing there lightly. I'm suggesting there is some hypocrisy and some inconsistency in those demanding action. And we better be careful how we go into this if we're going to, as we've said plenty of times. If we're going to commit our troops, there has got to be a definition of victory. There has to be an objective. And I want somebody like Colin Powell did during the Gulf War. Remember when he took to the easel and had that big poster of the positions the Iraqis had, and he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut their supply lines, whack, 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 and then we're going to cut the enemy's guts out, and we're going to kill him. I want somebody saying that's what's going to happen here. How is it going to? Otherwise, we're going to end up in a quagmire. And we don't need to fight wars to make guilty liberals feel good. And that's what this sounds like to me. Back with more right after this. Hey, I tell you what, folks, the stars come out for this show. One of my best friends in life, a man I respect immensely and am honored and proud to know, former Education Secretary and drug czar William Bennett is in our audience tonight. Watching the show is up from Washington. As you saw in a recent show, one heck of a QB. One heck of a quarterback. We're not going to have time for the Calvin Butts segment tonight because we don't have enough time left. So let me promise that to you on our next show. And instead, let me close the loop and revisit the Leonard Jeffries situation. There he is. Yeah, for 20 years, he's been the head of the Black Studies Department at the City College of New York. He said some things in a speech in July of 1991 that he's been saying for the entire time he's been teaching. It's just that when he said those things in July in Albany, press were there. And it ended up in the media. He says such things as, all the great cultures of the world originated in sub-Saharan Africa, and those cultures were stolen by white people from the blacks. And he teaches that black people are sun people and white people are ice people, and that Jews, together with the mafia, have gotten together in Hollywood and all this, and to make blacks look bad. The City College of New York decided, we can't have this, he's embarrassing us, and they fired him. A judge said his rights were violated, and they were. It's not a crime to be a racist. It's not a crime to be a bigot. Problem is, they didn't build a case against the guy. They did not at all define in a file what he was doing wrong, which you have to do to lead up to firing somebody. But you know what the real problem is, folks? He should have never been hired in the first place. When they hired him, they lowered their standards. And they said, to hell with what he's teaching. It doesn't matter what he's teaching. We're going to be good people. We're going to get a black guy in here. We're going to show that we are balanced, that we care about affirmative action. And they forsook, or they just forgot what their commitment to teaching kids is. They didn't care what he was teaching. They only cared that he was on the staff. And they lowered, in fact, they just got rid of their standards. And the thing that we ought to focus on here is what kind of embittered, angry young students as this man turned out and contributed to a failing black underclass in America. We're out of time. We'll see you in our next show. Bye-bye.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following. Rush Limbaugh's Wardrobe by Rochester, Big and Tall.
Tonight at 8, he's on a do-or-die mission. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. Then at 10, Ross Becker and Vicky Liviakis bring you real news. And now the Montel Williams Show is next on Channel 13.
If you'd like to order a video cassette of Rush's TV show for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO. For a transcript, send $5 to Burrell's Transcripts, Box 7, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039, or call 1-800-777-TEXT.